Hey there you guys, welcome back. Today I just wanted to show you what I purchased for Amaryllis this year and maybe answer a couple of questions as well as see the Amaryllis that I have dormant right now, see where they are, and yeah, just an Amaryllis video, or Hippeastrum. Whatever you want to call these guys, Hippeastrum is actually correct, but they are also Amaryllis. So yeah, this is the one that I just picked up today and it's really pretty. It's called Santiago. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Ugh, so pretty. I love the striping. I'm trying to get, as you guys might know, I try to get a new Amaryllis each year. This year I got 3. 2 of which I don't already have, and then 1 I just love. Yeah, this one is a new one. Obviously, it's in its package. When I'm looking for Amaryllis bulbs, show you what I'm looking for. This one probably doesn't have it because it was the only one that was available. They had no more pre-packaged Amaryllis bulbs like this. And I can't get into the package. Oh my gosh, it's so warm in here my glasses are steaming up. It only says 51% humidity in here, but it's quite warm. Alright. So when I looked for an Amaryllis bulb, I want it to be quite firm. Again, this was the only one that was available, so I didn't really have much choice. So you want to make sure that it's firm, so feel it. Make sure that there's no squishiness to it. And if there is some squishiness to it, make sure that it's nice and green and maybe with some new growth. It could just be because it's been packaged for too long and it's just a little tired. You might need to, if you get one that's a little bit, if it still looks healthy but a little bit squishy, you might have to soak it in some water for maybe an hour before you plant it up. Just so that it rehydrates itself. It could just be that. But what you normally want to look for is some new growth starting to occur in here. This one has no new growth, and that's okay. It's just going to take longer for it to produce a flower or leaves. But I really like to look for the beginning of a flower bud or a flower spike. That way you know that it's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks before you actually have an open flower. At this stage, it could be longer, it could be 6 to 8 weeks, but it hasn't even started to grow yet. So sometimes they're a little bit longer to come out of dormancy. So that's what I look for when I'm getting a new bulb. And also size matters. This one was $14.99. Amaryllis are getting really expensive now. I remember you used to be able to buy these smaller bulbs for around $10 each. They've gone up in price by about $5 a bulb. And but if you get a bigger size bulb, you're going to get a bigger show. So usually the larger size bulbs will give you multiple spikes, multiple flower spikes. So you might get 2, you might get 3, you might even get 4 if the bulb is big enough. And that makes a fantastic show. But 1 spike is more than enough. They're quite beautiful, but multiple spikes prolong your experience with them. So I'll just put this off to the side and I'll show you the other ones. Okay, so the other ones that I got, I've already planted these up. I was going to do a planting video, but I've done those in the past, so I thought, oh, why waste your time? You can always go back. Actually, I'll link all of my, I'll put it in a playlist, all of my Amaryllis videos. I'm sure you've got better things to do than to watch me plant these up. So this one is already planted. This one is, if I can remember correctly, Black Pearl. I need to create labels, but until that point, I just put the card in the back of the pot. I just need to watch when I water it. So when you plant these guys, you want to make sure to plant them so that they're partly exposed. Usually 1/3 of the bulb should be exposed, and maybe 2/3 of the bulb under the soil. So you just want to have it so that the plant doesn't rot. The bulb doesn't rot. So in this stage, you want to keep them relatively dry, but you want to, I pre-moisten the soil before I plant. That way, I know that there's moisture in the soil, and I won't water again until the soil is completely dry. What I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for the flower to be done, and I want the leaves to actively start growing. Once the leaves are starting to actively grow, you can start watering on a regular schedule, but at this stage, you're really risking rot if you're keeping it too wet. So once it dries out completely, then I will give it a drink, and then wait for it to dry out again completely, and then let it have another drink. I've got another one on my lap here. It almost fell off my lap. So that is the Black Pearl, and Black Pearl. It's going to call it Black Velvet. And I love this one. This is one of my favorites. I love the deep velvety red petals on this one. This one here, the next one, is kind of an orange tone. And what's this one called? Naranja? I'm not sure. It's a beautiful orange color. It's not very festive in my opinion, but everybody has different color schemes. So maybe this one is great for you. I also like them outside of Christmas. So this one might be one that's going to be nice in the spring or in the summertime. Once you get to know your amaryllis, you can force them to bloom basically any time of the year. So that's kind of cool. I thought I'd give this one a try. This one has not started to produce any growth yet, but again, keeping it, I had moist soil to start, and I'm just waiting for it to dry out, and then I'll give it another drink. And eventually, it will wake up. Eventually. The soil mix that I'm using for these is just a basic all-purpose potting soil. You want to make sure that it drains freely, and you also want to make sure that your pot has enough space for the roots to develop. These actually can get quite substantial root systems. So if you're just going to have it just for the flower and not continue to grow it afterwards, which is okay, but it's always nice to have them bloom a second time. If you're just doing it just for the flower, you can go with a smaller size pot, and that's okay. But just know that it's not going to get probably the nutrients or the water that it needs to do what it needs to do for next year. If I was you and you wanted to have it grow for next season or the season after to give you another bloom, I would give it at least 2 inches of space around the sides of the bulb. So this one I believe is a 6-inch pot, but it's a nice deep pot. As you can see, it's a nice deep pot, so the roots have somewhere to go. It's not a huge bulb, so that's what I've chosen to do this time. As the bulb gets bigger, the pot size will have to get bigger. You don't have to go massive, but you just don't want to go super small with them. Sometimes the pots that come with them, as you buy the kits, they're a little bit small. They're only for like a flower arrangement on your table kind of size. So one of the main questions that I get about amaryllis is, after it's done blooming, can I just put it back into dormancy so that it will bloom again for me? The answer is, you might be able to do that, but the best thing to do is to have it produce its leaves, let it grow, fertilize it, treat it like a regular houseplant. They want bright, I give mine bright direct light where possible. They really want it as bright as possible, but in your climate, your sun might be hotter than mine and it might need a part shade location. But if you notice burning on the leaves, then you know to move it back from the sun. But inside, I think full sun is probably the best. If they're not getting enough light, the leaves get long and stretched, and they get weak where they flop over, and they're really unsightly. But if they're given enough light, they're actually really beautiful leaves. They're quite thick and fleshy, and they can stand up on their own for the most part. Sometimes they need a little bit of support. But if you're giving it enough light, chances are they'll be able to stand up on their own. When I put them outside for the summertime, I do put them in a part shade location. I usually put them behind the shed so that I can't see them. I've got so many plants that sometimes behind the shed is nicer. They get really good light back there, and I water them regularly when I water the garden. But they're just out of sight, just growing away and doing their own thing. And sometimes they get blooms in the middle of summer, actually. They don't necessarily need a dormancy. They might do crazy things for you. So you want to fertilize them just like a regular houseplant. You want to nourish it so that the bulb gets as big as possible. Again, the bigger the size of the bulb, the potential for a better show is there. The bigger is better. And you'll notice after it flowers, especially if it does multiple blooms, it will diminish the size of the bulb considerably. So then you'll have to start feeding it again and trying to size it up. Again, I think I try to do mine. I try to get mine to bloom every second year. Kind of gives it a little bit of extra oomph to the bulb because again, producing the flowers is actually really taxing on the bulb, and I wanna make a big bulb. So let me show you where my amaryllis are at dormant state. They're actually in the grow room behind the furnace in a dark spot, but they're actually some people say that you need to have them in a cool spot. Mine aren't in a cool spot. What is the temperature in here? It's 26 degrees right now in the grow room. I'm sweating a little bit. And the humidity is 51%. And I wish the humidity was just a little bit higher, but 51%, that's not terrible. Some people have much less than that. I should be grateful for the things that I have. So let's go over and I'll show you. I believe one has started to produce a bud, which is pretty crazy because it hasn't been dormant for that long. I think they've been over there for, I think I brought them in September, October, November, so maybe 2 months, which I guess it was almost ready to bloom outside. So come on over and we'll check those out. Okay, so as you can see, we've got, this is the pot of Amorphophallus konjac. They're trying to sprout, but I'm not giving them any water. They're going to just die off. And I've got my plumerias over here, all dormant as well. I'm just keeping them dry, and that will keep them in an inactive state. And then here are my amaryllis. Some of them have no leaves on them. Like, well, this one has one leaf on it. This one has no leaves on it. The pot, it needs to get repotted as soon as I bring them back out for the spring. This one here, what's going on here? Is that a bud? Nope, that's just a leaf. So it's going back into dormancy. It seemed a little thicker than a regular leaf, but that is just a leaf. We've got all kinds of leaves stretching out on this, but I'm keeping it dry. So they're going to do what they do. They will get forced into dormancy soon. And then this one here, off to the side, has a bud being produced. I don't know what this one is. I wish that I had them labeled. But as you can see, the bulb on this is actually quite a nice size. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to give it some light and let it do its thing. And since this bud has already started to grow, I'm going to say that this will be about 4 weeks before the bud is tall enough that it will think about opening. So this one might be ready for Christmas. The other ones that I got new this year will probably not, because they don't have anything really developed. So this plant will really appreciate a watering. I will give this a quick drink right after this video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little tour of my amaryllis and the ones that I got for this year. They're super fun. I do recommend growing amaryllis, not just as an ornamental plant for the season, but just as a plant year after year after year. Make yourself a little collection, and like I said, you can get them to bloom at various times. I'll actually link the link to my my blog page where I give a whole list of all of the care tips from years past, and it kind of goes in sequence. What to do in the spring, what happens in the summer, all the way down to the bloom calculator. So if you want it to bloom at a certain time, you should put it into dormancy at a certain time. It's all there. So I'll link that to in the description below, and yeah, you might find it helpful. Anyway, show me your amaryllis. I'd love to see what they're doing. Post them to the Plants and Things What's Growing page on Facebook. Or tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see what's happening. Amaryllis flowers are so beautiful. They're so big. They're so striking, and they're just unreal. So easy to care for too. So anyway, until next time, you guys. Happy growing.